Good afternoon, A4LE members and friends. My name is James McDowell from Lab Crafters. I am the current 21 to 22 president for the Washington A4LE chapter. Just as a quick reminder for everyone, our current board is comprised of myself, and our president-elect, who will be the president next year, is Kalama from Hainline. Paul White from the Seattle School District is our treasurer this year. Rebecca Hutchinson has joined the board as our secretary, and our past president is the esteemed Ben Fields from McGranahan. And I also want to mention Tane Wilton, because those two took on the big duty of leading the organization through COVID for everybody. And so Ben and Tane, thank you very much for everything that you've done. Also, Steve Clark from Integris Architects in Spokane is an at-large member. Drew Phillips is still an at-large member from Forma Construction. We're welcoming Alex Leach from PCS Structural Solutions and Ariel Mealing from the DLR Group as at-large members. And of course, Steve Murakami from OAC Services is our regional governor. He represents Washington on a regional level for us. And also a mention to Greg Forsyth from Spokane and to Noah Greenberg from the Seattle School District, who are our TAC representatives. So I want to thank everybody for all the efforts that everyone's put in, and introduce Andy Cottrell and thank him and the jurors for putting all the work they've done into this year's Polished Apple Awards. Real quick, a couple of dates coming up. Everyone would please circle the calendar, and we'll be sending out the information. We are going to be doing our in-person tour of Mount Si High School on the 16th of September. So we look forward to seeing everybody in person then. And then upcoming, a couple days before that, will be a Jedi happy hour. That's a national thing. It's a happy hour that starts noon on the West Coast and 3 o'clock on the East Coast. So you can determine how you'd like to manage your happy hour festivities for that. And then just a reminder that submissions for the Learning Environment Solution Design Award are due August 30th. So that's all it is from a technical perspective. I'll turn it over to Andy and the team. Andy, thank you.
All right. Thank you, James. And welcome everybody to the 2021 Polished Apple Awards. Another virtual awards ceremony in the books. So we had a great turnout. We had 10 projects. And I'm just going to get right into it. I have two little things to do here, and then we'll turn it over to the jury team to finish the presentation out. So just a quick little snippet of all the projects awarded. What I'm going to present to you guys. The membership has voted on these awards or these projects and come up with the winner of the People's Choice Award. So without any more waiting, the winner of the 2021 Polished Apple People's Choice Award goes to Madrona School. So congratulations to Mahlum Architects, the Edmonds School District, Forma Construction, Osborne Consulting, KPFF Consulting Engineers, Metrics Engineers, Coghlan Porter Lundeen, TFWB Engineers Electrical, and Halliday Associates. Well done. Congratulations. This year's jury was led by the esteemed Angelique Grant. She will be our moderator today. And I'm going to introduce her as soon as I get her bio up here. It just disappeared on me. So Angelique has practiced architecture for over 25 years. She formed her own firm in 2013 in order to work more closely with clients who can benefit from her depth of experience and people-centered approach. She loves to partner with educators and childcare providers who put children first. Angelique has worked with public, private, and nonprofit entities, helping to create spaces that support learning and growth. She's passionate about healthy materials, daylight, and access to the outdoors for children. She is also an educator, most recently having taught an undergraduate design studio at the University of Washington focused on early learning. Angelique has participated as a speaker in the AIA 2030 series, towards reducing energy use in buildings. She has spoken at the Council for Educational Facilities Planners International, and Anjali is a past chair of the Downtown Design Review Board for Seattle. One more thing, Anjali was on the jury, I think 2 years ago. So she has a little experience and was able to lead our jurors through this exciting little process. So with that, Anjali Grant.
Thanks so much, Andy. It's weird to hear your own bio. I'm going to introduce our wonderful jurors. We had a really nice, diverse group of folks, and we had fun together. Olga Webster is our first juror. She's been in the field of early childhood education for almost 30 years, as a teacher for 10 years, and 18 years as the director of Tacoma Community College Early Learning Center. Her extensive experience in early childhood education has given her the expertise to teach, guide, and mentor college students who are aspiring to educate young children in preschool through K-3 grades. She currently teaches for Pierce College, Tacoma Community College, and the University of Arizona Global Campus. In addition to her role as a college professor, she manages the Early Achievers Grant Program for DCYF, Department of Child, Youth, and Families, through Pierce College, and provides training to licensed home care providers for DCYF. She received her bachelor's degree in early childhood education administration and her master's degree in education from the University of Ashford. Our next juror is Heather Burpee. Heather is a research associate professor at the University of Washington Integrated Design Lab. She's a nationally recognized scholar in high performance buildings that reduce energy and promote healthy indoor environments. Her work bridges practice, research, and education with collaboration between practitioners, faculty, and students. Her research addresses both qualitative and quantitative aspects of buildings, including tracking health impacts and synergies between environmental quality, natural systems, sensory environments, and energy efficiency. She has led several efforts to create protocols for performance-based tracking and auditing for hospitals, higher education, and commercial buildings. She regularly applies these roadmaps in practice, consulting with leading design teams nationally that are charged with implementing high-performance buildings. As the Director of Education and Outreach at the UW IDL, the Integrated Design Lab, she leads a tour program at the Bullitt Center, the world's greenest building, and develops curriculum and implementation of other educational opportunities related to high-performance buildings to multifaceted audiences. Heather is a Pacific Northwest native and received her Master of Architecture degree from the University of Washington College for Built Environments, which many of us also have. And her undergraduate degree is in biology from Whitman College, which I did not know, Heather. Thanks for joining us. Our next juror is Vince Gonzalez, another person that I know well. And he represents the school facilitators. So Vince Gonzalez is a senior project manager for Seattle Public Schools capital projects. He has been directly involved in several recent BEX 4 and BEX 5 levy projects over the past 8 years. Prior to his position at Seattle Public Schools, he has worked on several K-12 and higher educational building types as a design professional. Vince has over 22 years of experience as a design professional and owner's representative. He holds a master's degree in architecture from the University of Washington and a Bachelor of Arts in Architecture from the University of New Mexico. Thank you, Vince, for joining us. And finally, Alex Reluda, who is the owner and founder of Reluda Architects. Alex began his architectural studies at the University of Santo Tomas in Manila. With the goal of practicing architecture in his hometown of Seattle, he completed his Master of Architecture at the University of Washington in 1989. Every one of us, except for Olga, is a UW grad. He worked for 12 years for a local architecture firm, learning under mentorship the importance of developing relationships with clients based on trust and professionalism. In 1996, Alex started his own firm with 3 employees and has grown the company to a current staff of 46, a mix of diversities with more than 10 different nationalities and 10 different languages. He strongly believes diversity and inclusion spur creativity and innovation. And innovation is born from an engaged culture of diverse people and ideas. From the ground up, Alex built the firm's foundation with the core values: diversity, integrity, social responsibility, sustainability, and respect, which have attributed greatly to the company's success. Alex served as a commissioner for both the Pike Place Market Historic District and the International District Design Review Board, and now serves as chair on the Pioneer Square Preservation Board and chair of the Washington State Capitol Campus Design Advisory Committee in Olympia. He has been a guest speaker at universities and organizations on topics such as diversity by design, design by inclusion, equity and cultural competency, and racial and social inequity awareness and action. And that is our jury for this evening. Andy, can you move us on to the next slide?
I'm trying. It seems to be sitting still.
In
there
any
we go.
case, we had a nice diverse group of folks, which was awesome. Okay, I'm going to just spend a moment while Andy goes through the 10 slides just to thank the project teams who submitted work to this year's Polished Apple Awards, and to acknowledge the hard work that went into not just the award submittals, but also the planning, design, and construction of all 10 of these projects. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for helping our students be safe, supported, and engaged. I look forward to all of our students returning to school safely. The jury spent time discussing each project submittal and decided to dig a little deeper into 4 projects we'd like to share some thoughts and observations on. And these are the 4 projects. Next slide, please. Alex and Heather are going to share some thoughts on Blakely Elementary School. I am standing in for Alex this evening, so I will share some of his thoughts. So imagine Alex speaking these words. When I was starting my career in K-12 design, my boss told me, get down on your hands and knees and see the world from your client's point of view. This is how I feel Blakely School was planned and detailed. Special attention was given to make the student experience exciting, fun, comfortable, and special. The school has a very open feel that connects with the outdoors, bringing the surrounding forest indoors in a thoughtful way. The floor plan is well thought out with adjacencies and relationships to activities well programmed. I appreciate the engineering and design that went into providing healthy air systems, especially in this time of pandemic. Blakely School provides outdoor learning spaces and environments that I see providing varied opportunities for different types of learners. And lastly, I appreciate the efforts in relocating the Japanese maple tree to the front entry. A very good move. The entry is welcoming, inviting, and friendly. I'm going to hand things over to Heather to say a few more words about Blakely.
Perfect. Thank you, Anjali. And I'll be a little bit more off the cuff than Alex's comments. I really enjoyed visiting this school. I got to go over on the ferry and visit it with a couple other jurors. And from the moment we walked into the school, it was very welcoming. And some of the things that struck me were, of course, I'm always looking at things from a sustainability perspective. And this school really embodies that on multiple scales. So at the site level, the restoration of the site and building it into the environment, restoring the watershed that was there. At the building scale, the building systems that are employed, from very well done daylighting to the fresh air systems, both the heating and cooling and the ventilation systems are at the very far end of innovative, making it a very resilient school, which I really appreciate. And I think we all appreciate now in this time of COVID, with natural ventilation. So the windows can open and there's lots of ventilation in the classroom and other spaces. And the ability to be able to see that also at the material scale. So details like these wood rings on the banisters of the staircases. It felt like there were lots of thoughtful details all through the building. I think one of the spaces that struck me, especially for this award, the library was really gorgeous. All of the jurors talked about how they would have loved to spend time in that library. And the person giving us the tour talked about how there's a little corner with some stackable benches, and that was a process of building it as they went and getting it to the point that it was just right. And so the collaboration of the process really shined through to us.
Thank you, Heather. Our next school that we were able to visit is the Webster School, and I'm going to stand in for Alex again, but I will be very formal because I'm going to read his comments, and then Olga can kind of be a little bit less formal, perhaps. The Webster School, nestled in the dense Ballard neighborhood, harmonizes well within the larger context of the street and neighborhood, while also embracing design, innovation, and creativity. The design of the new construction considers the specific context of the building site and is visually compatible with the predominant architectural styles, building materials, and inherent historic character of the adjacent historical building. In accord with Secretary of Interior standards, the addition does not attempt to duplicate the original building facades. Rather, the new design differentiates from the original building in a manner that is complementary with the use of materials, color, base, middle, and top, and rhythm. I think the gasket or hyphen between old and new was successful in complementing the original building and creating a transition to the new. Regarding interior spaces, I appreciated the uncovering and exposing of the original heavy timber columns and beams that were once covered up with drywall. And I was drawn to the spaces that are now flooded with natural light and accent walls of vibrant colors used for signage and wayfinding. I feel they succeeded in optimizing instructional spaces within the historic context of the building. I also appreciate how both the old and new work in harmony to provide ample space for students and teachers to personalize the spaces. It's a blank canvas waiting for the artist's first move. I feel the Webster School will stand the test of time by remaining functional and compatible over many years. Olga, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, absolutely. I feel very privileged that I was able to be a part of this, the whole process of visiting the schools. I would like to just quickly quote a very important person in education and speak a little bit about environment. As you may have heard from my bio, my role is to look at environment and teaching and learning, which is my most passionate and most favorite thing to look at when I go into schools and programs. Loris Malaguchi, who's the founder of the Reggio approach, said, "It has been said that the environment should act as a kind of aquarium which reflects the ideas, attitudes, and lifestyle of the people who live in it. And I believe myself personally that the learning environment is the third teacher. It has to be functional, beautiful, and reflective." So that is my first impression. I want to just back up a little bit. I went to a school many years ago as a child, and it was in the town of Stillicum. It was a very old school. And when I walked into Webster School, I had that same sense of nostalgia. It was a wonderful experience for me. I'd like to say that I liked the way that the vibrant colors brightened the spaces, and that natural wood brings warmth to the interior. As a teacher and as a child learning, those things are very important for how they think and how they process their learning. I also think that the educational spaces allowed for rich interactions and promote independent learning. I like particularly that hallway that Andy was showing. The broadness of that hallway allows for students to work independently and to work collectively. I see a sense of modern, I see a sense of old school when I look at it. I like that the sense of nostalgia and the history of the school is always present. And you feel that when you enter the building itself. And I also feel that thoughtful consideration into the spaces where students spend the greater part of their day was reflected in the school. And you see it in the library, you see it in the hallways. We breached all of the floors, top to bottom, and it was a wonderful sense of just being in a space that I think is going to be a very wonderful experience for children learning.
Thank you, Olga. We really appreciate having an educator's perspective, I have to say. All of us really, really enjoyed that. Madrona School, Vince and Heather are going to say a few words. Vince, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you, Anjali. Just want to echo Heather and Olga's comments. It was a privilege to be on this jury with all these fine folks. I was lucky that I actually got to tour Madrona prior to the pandemic, and was very pleased when I saw it submitted for consideration for these awards. I think, and I'm going to probably say some things that are kind of what I heard from the other jurors, but it seemed to be that in particular, the first slide that introduced this, was there was lots of opportunities where the landscape was framed by the building, in particular this perspective. And I thought, I saw that in many different spots throughout the building and touring it. And then the courtyards and the outdoor circulation, I thought was achieved very well. It's not always something that you would always see in the Pacific Northwest. I'm from the Southwest. There's lots of buildings that we have that are kind of like this. So it was very unique. I thought the way it was detailed and how they pulled it off with the large overhangs to protect the students and the connections to the classrooms from inside and outside was wonderful. Next slide, Andy. One thing that caught my eye, because it's something from a district owner rep, it's something that we're implementing in all our projects at Seattle Public Schools, is gender neutral bathrooms. I was when I first toured this, I had not really thought about it, but in just going through some recent designs on some elementary schools that were starting, I thought there's a lot of work that the design team has to put in to get this right. And I feel like they did it right. I mean, there's probably dozens of stakeholders that they had to review this by. And I felt that the solutions they came up here were really well done. Next slide. And then again, just the classrooms, the connections between classrooms to facilitate some joint learning or group learning activities between one class and another. And then again, because of so much glass, there's such a connection to the outdoors, which I really appreciated. I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah. So
You want to take over?
Or sorry, I just jumped in there. Thanks for your thoughts, Vincent. And Vincent really shared some of what I was going to share too. Our observations were, and some of what I loved about the school is thinking about flipping the inside out and making outside part of the learning environment. And that was really clear here, where the circulation of students was not inside. Everybody had to get outside and interact with the environment throughout the day. So we really liked that. And part of that, is the STEM learning, right? And learning from the building. And so things like these gutters that are coming out and watering the plants. Another opportunity that we saw that was taken that we loved is in the STEM classroom itself. There was an open floor panel where you could see the rigid insulation and the radiant heating and cooling, the tubes of the radiant heating and cooling system. So students could learn about the building and thereby learn about STEM concepts through the building as a demonstration. Again, I really appreciated the sustainability, the features that were here, like the heating and cooling system. And so I just can't not say that, and also the daylighting design. And we talked a lot about the kind of the flexibility in planning and that ability for collaboration between classrooms and how that was innovative to us throughout the building. There's an example of that, and the big skylight part of the daylighting scheme and the displacement ventilation grills are shown in that photo as well.
Great. Thank you, Heather. And the last project that Heather got to tour the outside, but the rest of us didn't travel all the way down there, but we were able to watch a video. So Vince and Olga are going to speak about this one, and then we'll go into awards. Vince,
Thanks, Anjali. Getting some feedback. All right. Well, we felt that this building really embodied the pride of the community. Oh, okay, I'll restart, sorry. I thought this building embodied the pride of the community and the history of the town. I think that was so evident in not only in what was submitted to the jury to review, but some of the imagery that we got, and we got a short little video that was provided to us later. And I thought they really involved the community. This is obviously to the jury a very prideful building to them, and very important building. Just big picture, I thought the front entry was very welcoming to the students and the visitors. I made the comment that this particular elevation made me think of the industry in the area, and it made me think of the trains and the bridges and everything. Just expecting that building to start moving. It was a very dynamic particular elevation there. I thought the plan provided great opportunities to have visual connection between the upper and lower floors. The wayfinding, this particular element here with the prideful areas of the community, like the mill house, the river close by, they use those elements into their building to talk about the different zones for kindergarten, first grade, fifth grade, and kind of the wayfinding was resolved really well in this building. And then I thought the STEM space was great. I believe it's located in the center of the building, and there's lots of connections to spaces around it. And so you can kind of walk by the center and watch things happening and watch the kids learning and experimenting, and it's really inviting. And I just thought it was a very successful design. Olga?
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Yes, thanks, Vincent. I just have to tell you that I've learned so much from my juror colleagues about everything else in a building that is not only about educational environments. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm really, really impressed. Everything that Vincent and Heather have talked about as far as the structure and sustainability, those were just really great, amazing learning parts for me. But I want to say that when you talk about areas as houses, think of the comfort that children have when they hear, instead of going to a certain classroom or a certain number, houses and colors are used. A lot of children are visual learners. And when you enter a building with such wonderful colors and wayfinding, I imagine how children are very anxious to be part of that whole learning environment. That struck me the most. I wish I could have seen it in person, and I had to watch the video a few times because I really appreciated the tour walking through the building from the bottom floor all the way to the top floor. I appreciated that the gymnasium was designed to create more of a community belonging, and that the community is evident and part of this the school. So those things are important to me, family, children, and communities. And I thought that was a really special effect when it was mentioned that that the gymnasium would be used for the community at large to be also using. The learning spaces have a sense of warmth and calmness conducive to learning. The library would make me want to always have reasons to go to the library. I would, as a child, would like to go into that space and just find myself all curled up with some educational book or thought, or working with other peers. That struck me when I saw the library. This picture was one of my favorites. Looking outside, imagine young children, all children, students, all students being able to be in a space with so much lighting, natural lighting, which is very important for living in the Northwest, but it's important for making that connection with nature. Children have to always be connected to nature in this day and age. That's all part of their learning. And this building opens every classroom, almost every classroom, except upon reaching the top floor, but almost every classroom to the outdoors and to a whole way of learning and experiences and using all of their senses, which are also very important for how children learn. One of the things that I made note also that Vincent made note is that it tied, the building itself, I felt tied in the history of the town as it looked at the railway and the logging industry, and just the way the structure itself looked. I feel that it was tied in very nicely and respected the town and their history.
Thanks, Olga. Okay, so hopefully we've kept you all guessing till the very end. And I will start with this one. The Merit Award was one that we kind of, we pushed a little bit. We said, okay, well, you have the polished apple, but we can't stop with that. So this one is, well, I'm going to wait till it's revealed before I tell you why. So maybe we do a little drum roll, and Andy, you can reveal the winner of the Merit Award. Kalama Elementary School. Heather, will you talk a little bit about why Kalama was something that jury couldn't just do a polished apple?
Yes, for sure. So we talked at length about Kalama Elementary School, and we all just really, really fell in love with it and thought that the integration of the community stakeholder, the engagement with community, and the obvious representation of the history and culture of Kalama just shines through in this project. And Anjali mentioned that I had the opportunity to visit this project in person, only on the outside, unfortunately. But I loved this front porch. From that, you don't get it from this perspective, but if you turn around and look what's behind the camera, you get to look down into the city of, or the town of Kalama, across the street to the new middle school, which really elegantly kind of it's very similar in style to the elementary school. So it'll be like, it is like a campus. And I think, one of the big things that came through to the jury is this is and I guess I should pair this with a personal statement of my own. I come from a small logging town. And so it's really true to me how much small logging industrial towns need educational facilities that match their community's needs. And it just rang true, the whole process that the design team went through here and how it's so elegantly represented in the school. Olga talked about that. Vincent talked about that. And so we felt like we absolutely wanted to give this project, this school, a merit award for those reasons. The marriage of the community, the history, and also, the way that the organization was really clear and thinking about wayfinding and the graphics. And we felt really strongly about this project. And I think Kalama must be really proud to have it in their community.
Thank you, Heather. Next slide. So we're not quite at the polished apple yet, sorry. We also felt like we needed an award of distinction. So I don't know, maybe we're feeling like more generous this year because everyone has worked so hard. But Andy, could you turn the slide to show us the award of distinction? So the Webster School renovation, the jury felt really strongly that they wanted to recognize the unique challenge of renovating a historic school on a limited budget, and that this school had challenges that the others did not. And so in a way, it was almost apples to pears to compare a new construction to a historic renovation, particularly with a landmark school. So this was something the jury felt really strongly about, is, you know, they wanted to say something, and it's a sustainable choice to keep an existing building. So we congratulate Webster School for their achievement, and the whole team. Next slide, please. Oops, sorry. And then finally, the Polished Apple Award. I guess we could have done this by saying a few words without revealing them, but I don't know, we're not that crafty. So we'll just do another drum roll. And Andy, you can reveal the polished apple to everyone. Blakely Elementary School. Vince and Olga, do you want to say a few words about why the jury chose this project for the polished apple?
Olga, why don't you go first?
Sure, so happy to. I felt so amazingly warm when I walked into the building. What I mean by that is, if you're a child or a teacher, you walk in and the environment itself says, come on in and play, and come on in and learn. And when I walked in there and I touched the unique wood surfaces just in the entryway, right away, I couldn't wait to go through the school. A thing that was important to me is how they tied nature in. And first of all, let me just say, the design of the building, I could talk for hours and not even speak to what you guys would say about it, meaning the jurors, because it was a wonderful experience. The fact that they feel that the outdoors, that lighting, that independent learning is important was demonstrated just through the learning spaces. So you go through the learning spaces. As I walked from one area to the next and felt a small and smooth transition, it felt like a child walking through this would understand what his purpose was there for. I felt there was a lot of intentional design in considering how children learn. And I would like to make comment about the library, which we just were all in awe, because it really spoke to the importance of providing something or space for children that is conducive to learning, that is open, that allows independent learning, that allows group learning, that is natural, that is beautiful. And when I look at aesthetics in schools and environment, I think of beauty and aesthetics. And if you could take a second when you are done with this and remember what it was like when you were going to school, what was your school like? What was your experience like? Why was it that way? Children who go to the school and teachers who teach these children, those children will, and the teachers will have very fond memories of their learning experience in this environment that was so warm and welcoming and creative and filled with natural wood and just creatively designed. I don't have all the technical talks like all of the other juries do. My part is talking about children and education and environment, which I love talking about, but I'm just not going to take any more time because I know Vince has a lot to say about that too.
Thanks, Olga. I wasn't able to tour this with the other jury members, so I actually toured it on my own. And just right off the bat, I was impressed. I had made the comment to the other jurors that there was a sense of whimsy with the design, and in particular, I'm thinking about the large lighting at the main office, the kind of the shades, light, and it was just gorgeous. And I felt it was so welcoming to the kids that would come into that space, into a large building. It kind of brought everything down to scale. I thought that there was the use of the wood in so many different ways, from the columns to the exterior finished siding to furniture elements on the inside. Very, very unique and used very well. And then from looking at it from the perspective as a owner representative, I thought that the courtyard was done very well. It was like very easy to maintain. I appreciated that there was lids over the planter boxes, because sometimes those things can kind of get out of control if someone's not maintaining them. So there's opportunities to kind of cover those up and still maintain order. I thought there was just lots of different sensory experiences throughout the building. You know, when you walk from the entry up to the next floor, and then connections from the classrooms to the outside, there's just a lot of really unique experiences. And then I think my favorite part was the library and the columns and the carpet that was selected. You just really felt like you were under the canopy of the trees, and you can just sit down and read a book on the floor of the forest. It was so welcoming. So and the other thing I should say is I thought the quality of the construction really stepped up and supported the intent of the designer, and it was done very well. So it was obvious it was a really good partnership between the architect and the contractor on this project.
Might add one comment
Yeah.
that I didn't say when I was talking earlier, that I think there was a gracefulness in the planning of the spaces in this school. And to say that the site was kind of difficult, right? Because it's a site that's at grade, so different levels were necessary. And the way that that was handled with a central spine and a central staircase seemed to work quite well. Despite some teachers being worried about it, they actually like it a lot because they can see each of their students when they're in line. They can have little assemblies on the stairs. But I also feel that for a school of the younger ages, this school did a really good job at creating little places for each grade level that were off in their own space. So the planning was really well done in that way, where it was almost a small school within a larger school, so that those students kind of could feel that they were in their own group during, you know, the first graders are together and the second graders are together. And so I just wanted to mention, I think that planning was really well done, and, you know, in a site that doesn't always lend itself to making that easy.
Great, Heather, thanks for bringing that up. Well, thank you all. Congratulations to all the teams. There was so much good work there. And I really enjoyed touring some schools with our fantastic jury. So thanks again. Back to you, Andy.
Thank you, Anjali, and thank you, jury, for your very well thought out and just beautiful comments about the projects. We're all very pleased. I just want to express my thanks to you guys for your time and efforts and everything that went into this. It was great. I'd also like to thank my behind the scenes team, Karen at Mahlum. She's a great help. Stephen at Integris in Spokane is a good help. And Robert, of course, Robert with Studio Meng. All four of us together kind of were able to acquire our jury and bring this little event together somehow mysteriously in the midst of COVID, sitting from our home computers. So next year, we do hope to be live and in person at the Wenatchee conference in the spring. I think it's in June. I think it's scheduled for June. So the submittals will be required just a little bit sooner than these ones because, of course, this is the end of the summer. But great work, everybody. Thank you all for submitting, and we look forward to next year. No, James, do you have anything to end with, or are we done?
Just want to thank everybody. A reminder about the 16th and everybody in person, and please start making your plans for Wenatchee next year. Obviously, Superintendent Reichdahl and the governor have gotten together and discussed a few things relative to how teachers are going to proceed the next few weeks. That may have a loose impact on what we do, but we'll keep everybody posted. So keep an eye on your emails and keep an eye on the website. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, and one final thing, we do intend to put together our plaques and trophies, and we will be sharing those out live and in person at the dinner meeting on the 16th. So see you there.
Bravo. Thanks, Andy.
Yep, thank you.